What's up, guys? We're back here with the BSLT price update, and we're not all sunshines and rainbows here, as we do just tell it like it isn't and how we see it, right? So the BSLT price, as we've been talking about for the last couple of days, is going downwards. 23 cents, 23.7 is the price of one BSLT currently, and it is still continuing this downward trend. We did talk about this a couple days ago, saying that probably about 15 to 20 cents is where I expect this to kind of bottom out and levy and stay until there's some, positive catalyst that increase this price again. But let's talk about why this price, I think, is going down and what were the causes and the issues of this decline. So obviously, this is all speculation. This is all, guesses. I don't know all the data and all the information out there, but this is my reasonings behind this. Also, no one can predict the future, right? So we don't know where the token price will go. Tomorrow, the token price might be 27 cents or it might be 29 cents. No one really knows. But let's go down to the basics here. So the token goes up or down based on people buying it or people selling the token. Unfortunately, in the BSLT token, there is more selling pressure right now than there is buying pressure. There's generally always going to be more selling pressure as XL Games, the game company, is always selling their earnings every single month. So, unless they do another pause of earnings, which I actually think is very, very possible for them to do once the token price reaches around like that 15 cents, I expect them probably to be like, hey, we're not going to crater the token anymore. We're just going to hold our earnings and we're going to let the token recover and build back up. And, we want the game to last a long time. I expect a statement like that when we get the token price around that 15 cents. Because if you've been following Archeworld, you'll notice that they've done things like that in the past. They don't want the token kind of like higher than 30-ish cents, and they don't really want the token lower than about 15-ish cents. So that sweet spot, they want it somewhere kind of in between that 15 to 30 cent range is what I'm getting a feel for based on all their statements and how they've acted in the past. Right now, obviously, too, we have this massive fear of the unlock period. So there is company employees, there's partners, things like that before the game launched, they gave them tokens. They gave them compensation in tokens or, just tokens for partnering with them or tokens for, helping them build the ecosystem and, helping promoting the game. And those tokens had a 1-year lockup period. We don't know exactly when that 1-year lockup period ends, so it could be, now, it could be in a month or two, or it could be 2 months, 3 months, it could be the September 1st, the 1-year anniversary of the launch of the Asian server. Again, we're in this unknown, this big fear period of when are these tokens going to unlock. So some of this selling pressure could be the unlocking of some of these tokens that were very, very early, company employees, for example, who are like, hey, who wants to work on this game? We're making Archeworld. This is an NFT crypto game. Let us know if you want to jump off the ArcAge team and go to Archeworld. And, we'll give you this as a bonus. We'll give you 10,000 tokens or 100,000 tokens or 1 million tokens. Something like that to kind of persuade employees to be like, hey, we're making this new game. We need people. Do you want to jump on the ship instead of working on the other game? Because, obviously the company could just be like, hey, you. All right, you're working on this game over here. But I don't know the culture in, Korea. I don't know if they do that or if it's more of, hey, we want volunteers. Who wants to work on this game? Jake Sung is coming back and we're redeveloping ArcAge into an Archeworld, an NFT crypto game, and so forth. But whatever they said, there is employees that have tokens that were locked up for 1 to 3 years. So that is kind of common in business, right? You have stocks and then you have a vesting period where after a year, your stocks unlock and you can access them. Same kind of thing here. So they just use the tokens instead of a stock. So that big fear period of this. But realistically, it just comes down to the simple fact. If people are buying the token, that means they're enjoying the game, they're putting money into the game, they're investing to the game, then they are going to be buying the token. If people are unhappy with the game and not having fun, not having enjoyment in the game, then they are going to sell their token and cash out their stuff. So in game, we have had little to no new content since the launch of the American server, which I think is the biggest downfall of the token. So the token is directly tied to enjoyment in the game, and you will notice that the world is, you know, populated. There's a lot of houses, a lot of construction, a lot of buildings in the world, but there are empty plots. So you'll see land plots that are open. We are on server 2, which I believe is more populated now land-wise than server 1. Server 1, I definitely feel like a lot of empty land plots are out here. And even here you can just see this is the starting zone, which is a zone where like a lot of players would drop down their lands, I would think. And you got a whole bunch of signposts, which are empty land plots, and people can just, you know, rent the Excel Games lands or rent the player land. And so this is one of the telling signs of like, hey, people are not that happy. If they're not renting the land, they're not seeing value in owning a land or renting the land, then it's kind of a gauge of like, are they happy with the game? Or are they not happy with the game? And so it goes back to the second point here of why people, I think, are dissatisfied is because the land is not producing crazy amounts of returns, right? The land is profitable. Almost all lands are profitable except for some of the very, very big ones, you know, the extra large, the mega. The large can be profitable depending on how much work and effort you put into it, how much resources. I mean, even someone did some calculations and said the mega could actually be profitable, but you have to put like $60,000 into the mega to make it profitable. And yeah, you get your return in about a year. So, I mean, essentially all the land is profitable. It's just not like instantaneous. So with the tents, for example, you get a bed and you get an Archean machine. And most of your resources come out of this bed because the Archean machine is only going to consume a small amount of your labor. So the small land and the tents is kind of tied to the bed. Whatever the labor price is, means is the small land good or is the small land bad, essentially. And so the labor potion price went down to as low as like 1.5 BSLT for the first month. And that was just pure madness, which made all of the small lands pretty much, you know, bad. Like they were break even, maybe losing a little bit money when labor potion was 1.5 BSLT. So like all the tenants, well, I shouldn't say all, but a lot of the tenants then decided to not renew their small leases, right? So that's why a lot of these land plots are even small lands, is because like people were here and then they decided to not renew their leases because it didn't feel profitable. They weren't like actually seeing a profit based on, you know, what they were producing out of their land. Their labor wasn't giving them much return. Their Archeon wasn't giving them much return. And it just wasn't like, oh, wow, it wasn't obvious that they were making money, right? So what the fix is very simple. It's like labor needs to become more valuable, and we are seeing that since there's less and less people renting the small lands, the labor potion price is starting to go up. And we touched upon this in another video as well. Labor potion price, I do think, will start to go up and up and up, and then eventually it will start to go down once people realize, hey, I can rent a small plot, I can produce, you know, 40 labor potions a month off this thing, I can make some money off of this just by doing labor potions, right? So it's all big cycles of, you know, peaks and valleys, ups and downs, and right now the labor potion is starting to go up for the reasons of less small lands, and also more and more players are upgrading their Archean machines to grand and rare status. You'll notice these green lights above them. That means these are rare Archean machines, or grand Archean machines, excuse me. The blue lights, if you had blue lights, would be the rare Archean machines, which cannot fit on these medium houses. So this one over here, the white lights, that shows it's the basic Archean machine. As you upgrade the Archean machines, it costs double the amount of labor. So this right here is actually going to be a negative labor producing house. So every day the bed's going to produce 2,000. These machines are going to eat 3,000. So every single day, this is going to be a negative 1,000 labor points per day per house. And this person probably has 3. I would assume it's the same person right here. So he's actually negative 3,000 labor points every single day just off of those houses right there, which means he can't sell labor. He has to actually go buy labor potions off of the auction house, or he has to just go rent a bunch of small lands, produce more labor. because a small land actually is a profitable labor producing situation. This one is only 500 labor approximately, and it produces 2,000, so you profit around 1,500 labor per month. So labor, I think, is the main reason why we're seeing a crazy decline in these small houses. And so once you fix the labor issue, which is kind of fixing itself already, right? But we want to see it go up bigger. Like, it should be higher than 3 or 4 BSLT. If labor potions get to like 5 and stay around the 5, tons and tons of people will want to rent the small land. I think that's kind of like the sweet spot, is if labor potions is around 5 BSLT per labor potion, you get a crazy robust housing market, which then feeds into the entire economy, because the housing market is the main reason why people need BSLT. In order to put down the houses, you have to buy the housing designs, or aka rent the housing designs from the blue salt, because this is all actually a form of staking. You don't buy it, you spend the 150, you put it down, and then when you leave the game, you get that 150 back, or when you demo your house, you get your 150 back. So this is why the token price is decreasing, in my opinion, is a lot of people left the game, they took out their 150 BSLT from their small houses, even some people left the game and took out their 410 for their medium houses, and so forth, and the bigger ones as well, and now they got that BSLT back, and then they went ahead and sold that on the marketplace, pushing the price down. XL Games, of course, is also selling their profits, which comes from player interaction. So everything that is bought or sold on the auction house will actually generate profit for XL Games. So if we can take a look at the data here, we can see that 18 million Archeum shards were sold roughly every single day, and XL Games is going to get 10% of these fees on everything that gets sold on the auction house. So all these sales, money is transferring back and forth to other players, but XL Games is getting rich off of these sales. They're getting tons and tons of BSLT. They go ahead and actually sell most of that BSLT that they earn in game from these profits. Not only are they getting money from the sales, but they also get the rental income from all the properties that they have in game. They do give a small amount of that shared out as a dividend to the land NFT holders, but for the most part, they keep most of these profits if someone went to rent their small, medium, or larges in game. So all these properties that are owned by XL Games is just a lot of profit generated to the company every single month. They, of course, want to convert that profit into cash so they can use it for other operating expenses, and that's what they said they're doing. So that's why you get this constant downward selling pressure, is because all these activities are actually feeding BSLT to XL Games. And XL Games is then, in a sense, going ahead and selling it and pushing the price down. Another factor that I think caused this decline and this player dissatisfaction was the fact that they didn't let the price moon up. So if the price mooned up, more and more people would have FOMO, fear of missing out, and would be attempting to chase the higher price. So some of them obviously would go and try and cash out if the price skyrocketed up to 40 cents, 45 cents, 60 cents, 75 cents. At the time, the FOMO would happen, people would see the price rapidly rising, and they would go and try to buy and say, oh, this is a great investment, the price is going up nonstop, which then in turn would bring more people to the game because they see this token shooting up in value. It's the whole FOMO aspect. When the price is going up, momentum is there and people are buying. When the price is going down, momentum is there on the other side and people are running for the hills, trying to cash out as quick as possible because they think the sky is falling and the token will never recover. So they kind of capped this. They didn't let it go past 30 cents. There was a massive sell of 180,000 tokens as the price got up to 32 cents, and it just crushed the price back down to 27 cents, like almost instantaneously. They did say that they were going to add more liquidity to the liquidity pool and they didn't want it to moon, and I think this was a big mistake. They should have just let the price kind of play out, slowly but surely adding to the liquidity pool, but not in massive spikes like this. Seeing that rapid token increase from, it wasn't even that much of a rapid token increase either. It went from like 27 cents up to 32 cents in a day, and yeah, it was rising and people were like hyped, like, oh cool, token price rising. Like, I don't think that was a bad thing. I think them selling the 180,000 tokens at that time was a bad situation, which put a sour taste in people's mouth over like, wow, they're really not going to let the price go higher than 30 cents. What's the point of investing in this token if they're controlling it and making sure that like it can't go over 30 cents? Like, that's kind of what I thought happened with that situation there. They should have just kind of let it go up. If they were going to add to the liquidity pool, they could have added 20 or 30,000 tokens, but not a crazy amount like the 180,000. Like, that's a lot of token, guys. 180,000 is a lot of tokens, and I just don't think they realized how much that impacted the price and player sentiment. Next up, in game, the reason the labor potions were so cheap is because the patch that we're currently on doesn't really consume that much labor. The most consumption of labor is from some of the Rift coin purses, which cost like 150, 180, I believe, at the most. But the best item in game is the Hearthstone perch, or coin purse, pouch, whatever you want to call it, the Hearthstone bag from the Ancestral Monsters. And this bag only costs 10 labor points. So realistically, the best thing that you could be doing in game, especially early on in the server, was farming the Ancestrals for those Hearthstones and then making, 5, 6, 7 BSLT per 10 labor points. Because at that time, the purple Archeum shards, or purple core shards, let's just type in purple. Find the right, purple Archeum core shards were selling for, in the beginning, around like 20 BSLT per shard. And then it went down to more reasonable prices, around like 5 or 10 BSLT per shard. And then as more people realized this is super, super profitable and this is easy to do, then the prices started to like just tank, because all the players that were filthy rich, the whales that were spending lots and lots of money, they got all of their gear up to tier 5, and they no longer needed any of these purple Archeum shards. So once that happened, this just cratered down to next to nothing. And now this is where we're settling at, is this like 0.05, 0.010, like this very, very cheap price on the purple Archeum core shards. But it's still actually really, really profitable to actually go and farm those Hearthstone pouches, because inside it you also get the incomplete Archeum shard. So it was kind of like the best of both worlds. You had these Archeum shards coming out of this Hearthstone pouch, and then you also had the purple Archeum core, which was crazy valuable in the beginning of the server for the first month or so, and it only cost you 10 labor to get, and it was easily accessible. Like, that was a massive design mistake, flaw in this. Those coin purses should have cost 50 points, 50 labor points, maybe 100 labor points. Like, they still would have been incredibly good values at that point, but they would have consumed a lot more labor points, which would have kept the housing market strong for a lot longer. So I think the Hearthstones is actually one of the biggest reasons why this labor market just cratered, why the housing market kind of cratered because of that. I think the labor is just kind of like the point where they need to fix. If they fix the labor potion issue, fix the labor cost, if they can make labor potions about 5 BSLT per potion, then you fix the entire housing market. And I think it's as simple as increasing the Hearthstone coin purses up to either 50 or 100 labor points, and there you go. That fixes everything. But again, also, they did do this very, very bad event. So the next thing is, they had this event. The first kind of big content update that we got, first event that we got, was this Chest of Wealth. And unfortunately, 95% of the population could not interact with this event whatsoever, because this event was purely a paying money event. You had to pay 100 BSLT to get 10 chests. And realistically, it wasn't even that. You needed to buy around 30 of these, so you needed to spend around 3,000 BSLT to get the actual grand reward out of this, to get enough tickets to get your land ticket. So this event was really only for maybe the 1% of the player population, the people that are willing to spend a lot of money on the game, and everyone else got absolutely nothing. This event did nothing for, let's say, 99% of the population. This event, I think, was actually terrible. Also, it boosted the price pretty significantly. This is why the price went from 27 to 32 cents. During that event, during like day one of the event, people were just buying like crazy, and then the price went up. Once the buying pressure stopped, the price went down, and XL Games sold some tokens, price went down, and we know where we're at right now. But on top of that, the event also staked your BSLT. So all those people that spent thousands upon thousands of BSLT now have thousands upon thousands of BSLT in their inventory as coupons that are going to get redeemed on June 1st. So on June 1st, XL Games is going to send out tens of thousands of BSLT to these players that bought these boxes and have these coupons in their inventory. And now that's going to be a massive influx, which generally then in 24 hours or 25 hours with the withdrawal period, some people will withdraw and cash out. And unless they do another event, this kind of is probably going to crater the price down to that 15-cent mark, in my opinion. It just doesn't add up. I don't get why they did this kind of event when they've done a lot of other events in the past that would have significantly helped out the economy more. So I've been a big advocate of saying that they should have done a coin purse event that has land NFT tickets in it. They did this event on Asia. They did this event in week 3 on Asia when they wanted player activity to increase in the world. And they put a new coin purse from the mobs. So all the level, I believe, 41 mobs plus dropped this coin purse. These bigger Rift mobs dropped the coin purse. And they had a way to craft it as well. And so there was 3 different ways to actually get this coin purse. Well, actually, maybe the crafting was a little bit later. I think, the crafting event was a little bit later. So the first event was simply get the coin purse from the basic mobs out in the world, the level 41s, the 50, 55s, and then also get the coin purse from the ancestral mobs that were the Rift mobs. So they had 2 ways to get them. You either played Rifts or you fought just mobs grinded, which helped out the Rift people because now more people were grinding mobs, which means more Rifts were spawning, and it was a nice cycle of activity increase. These also cost labor points. Generally, you got nothing good in them, and sometimes you would get a land coupon airdrop tickets, and you needed to collect a whole bunch of these things, or there was a raffle. I forget the exact details on it, but yeah, for the most part, it was a labor-burning event. And when they did this, the labor potion prices went from like 3 BSLT on that server, on the Asian server, up to 10 BSLT per labor potion during this event because people were spamming these coin purses, opening them like crazy because they wanted to earn land NFT tickets. So doing an event like that where everyone can participate, not just 1% whales or spending players, would have greatly affected the economy, helping out everything. Like, I don't understand why they didn't do that kind of an event, the coin purse event. And I mean, there's still hope. They can still do it this coming tomorrow in the week in the maintenance or next week. Like, they can still do it then, but I just don't understand why that they started off with probably one of the worst events that they could have done when, again, only about 1% of the population actually is spending the money and interacting with this event, giving literally everyone else nothing to do for 2 weeks besides the basic Rift, farming simulation and ancestral farming. Like, I just don't understand this. If I were them, I would have dropped an event that everyone could participate in. Yes, the free-to-play players don't really get to participate because they don't have that much labor, but, that makes them want to go get a small land. That makes them like, hey, I need to rent a small land, or I need to buy labor potions off of the auction house. This all feeds to the economy, which the current event that they did, it just feeds XL Games more profit, right? All this BSLT, all these hundreds of thousands of BSLT that were purchased on this event feeds XL Games more tokens, more profits, which means next month in June, instead of having 100,000 tokens to sell, XL Games now has 1 million tokens to sell. Like, they have so much more tokens now because they strictly did a cash shop event where they sold 15,000 boxes for 100 BSLT each. Like, tons of extra BSLT that now they're like sitting on and like, hey, what are we going to do with this? Oh, we're going to sell it because it's profit, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't understand. Like, I hope and pray that they do the coin purse event, tomorrow when they do the update. But it should have been the first event that they did. Like, they could see the writing on the wall, right? Like, we saw small, medium, large houses start to appear after that first 28-day period ending. People didn't renew their leases. So once you saw that, you're like, oh, we need to do an event. And they didn't. Like, they could have even done the event last week. They could have done the whole coin burst event last week as well. Like, you could have double events going on. The first event was only for whales. The second event could have been for everyone. 2 week, 3 week, where these special coin purses drop it in the world. Anything. Any kind of event that like burns labor and burns Archeum, because Archeum also is now starting to decline. Archeum is getting very, very low on value. And again, this puts players at a severe, like, it's not worth it to have a house. 63 BSLT, 64 BSLT, and the price is still creeping down a little bit. There's less and less people buying on the Archeum because no one's needing to upgrade their gear. Like, the only real reason to upgrade your gear is for arena purposes. Like, and some people are now disheartened because you have these tier 6 gears and weapons that got transferred from Asia. So, like, you have a lot of negative player sentiment right now. People are not upgrading their gear as much. Some people are. Some people still are. Don't get me wrong. Some people still are progressing their gear and upgrading their character. Like myself, I'm personally still upgrading my character and progressing my gear. But a lot of other players have decided to, like, hey, quit, take a break. And you see this with people selling their gears on the auction house and, like, opening up the land plots. So they sell their gear, they get rid of their land, and they just kind of leave. Like, but there is change, right? There could be a chance this all turns around. We have some big catalysts. All they need to do is release a labor/Archeum burn events that gives out a solid reward. And I've proposed this several times, especially on the Discord. If you have any suggestions, go to the Discord, the official Discord, post your suggestion in the suggestion channel, and, it will get voted on. But, like, the easiest way to do this is labor burn events, Archeum burn events. Give out the first opportunity to get a boat NFT. So it can be ultra rare. It can be just like the roulette wheel. It could just be like the slot machines, right? Where you have a jackpot, where it's 1 in a million to get this. But give out the opportunity, the first way to get a boat. And the boat should be an NFT, right? So that means they get the NFT money. If someone gets it, they can sell it on the open market house, on OpenSea and other websites, and then they can still get their 7% cut on that stuff. So if they do this, the very first of anything is always very valuable because it's supply and demand. So if there's only a supply of one, if there's one in the entire world, that means it's going to be expensive because it's scarce. There's not many. There's only one available, and only one person can have it. Once there's like 100 of them, it becomes less valuable because there's 100 of them, right? If there's 10,000 of them, it becomes even less valuable because there's 10,000 of them. Simple supply and demand economics. So the first one is going to be incredibly sought after. People will spend a lot of resources, money to try and get this. Someone will probably get really lucky if the odds are 1 in a million. They pull one of these things, and then they could sell it to a whale or another player, and then they have that. And the NFT doesn't even need to be usable, right? You don't have to have the ocean content here for them to do the first event to win the first boat, right? The boat does not have to function in game. You can sell an NFT and promote an event based on this and be like, oh yeah, it will be usable in 3 months. You can do that. So many game companies do that. Like, that's kind of the premise of a lot of these NFT startup game companies. They mint NFTs, they create events, they create treasure chests, they create loots, they sell you this and they say, oh yeah, in 3 months, we're going to have a game. It's going to be awesome. In 6 months, we're going to have a game. It's going to be awesome. They do this all the time. So I don't understand why they don't want to do this. I think they definitely should do it. Ocean content is coming. We do know this. It is coming in approximately 3 months right now. So that is a huge catalyst. Once the ocean comes, all they have to do is make everything really, really expensive, right? People are going to want to have a boat. So even if it is a very, very expensive process to build the boats, people are going to build the boats, and they're going to go and fight in the ocean, fight the monsters, and they're going to have fun, and they're going to spend tons and tons of money on the boats and the ocean and the cannons and all the upgrades. Like, the ocean is the next massive catalyst for the game. But the other catalysts are very simple. All they have to do is tweak the economy. If they tweak the labor potion or tweak the Archeum, which they have been doing in the Asian servers, right? So they've been tweaking the Archeum, tweaking the labor a little bit over there. In an event that simply burns labor and burns Archeum is the easiest way to just light a fire on the economy, jumpstart the housing market, and jumpstart everything. Currently, people are thinking like, hey, we can't really play to earn in this game anymore. You don't really earn anything. It's not worth our time or energy to play. And so the play to earn crown is kind of disappearing, and you're just left with the hardcore, PvPers, the arenas, people that really believe in the game in the long term. Like, if you believe in the game in the long term, none of this stuff matters, right? If you believe the game is going to be here 5 years from now, literally none of this stuff matters, and it's all actually just a big buying opportunity, right? So if you think the game will be successful and be here 5 years later, you're just like really, really happy that the price of this stuff is going down. You want the price of Archeum to go down. You want the price of labor to go down. You want the price of BSLT to go down, because you're like, oh, in 5 years, these prices are going to be triple or double or 4 times. Like, you're thinking down the line, 5 years from now, you're like, wow, I'm going to be a millionaire off of this game because all these prices are going to go up significantly. And so you want to buy them as cheap as possible. So if you're thinking really long term, this is when you start looking at like, hey, is this a good time to buy? If the token price gets down to 15 cents, potentially you got some whales and big players that could come in and buy hundreds of thousands of tokens because they think that the game will be here for 5 years or 10 years even. Like, if the game lasts 10 years and you're making this constant BSLT income every week, every month, like, that's a lot of profit over those 10 years. Like, we had this guy in the Discord who actually calculated the mega mansion house, how much it costs, how much it returns, and it essentially came down to it costing about $65,000, but it provided, I believe it was like $8,000 a month in income. So essentially it became like, if you owned the mega house and you worked the house for a year, you would get all that $65,000 back. And then so anything after a year would be like a profit. So obviously do your own math, check your own information on this stuff, do your own research. But yeah, so this is a really cool thing. People were like, the mega sucks, the mega beds, the heroic Archeum machines, the heroic beds, they all suck. Well, the calculations said that they're actually not that bad. Like, if you get all your money back in a year, that's not that bad a return. Because also on top of that, you still actually own the heroic Archeum processing station. So not only did you make all your money back in a year, but you still have this asset that you could go ahead and sell for a lot of money. Like, you still own this heroic processing machine. If you want to keep it and just keep working the system, which it only takes a few minutes. He said it probably takes like 8 minutes a day to get all of these resources. It's like, woo, simple, easy. Like, it's a very interesting proposition. If the numbers and everything worked out correctly, which I believe they did. It looked like there was solid numbers and solid math. Like, it was like, wow, so the Mega and the heroic Archeum processing machine is actually not that bad. You just have to think that the game's going to last over a year. And if the game lasts over a year, you're in the money. You're profiting. Like, and you have this heroic Archeum processing machine that will constantly be generating you more and more money every single year afterwards if the game keeps going, right? Or you can go ahead and just sell it. Like, someone will pay a decent amount of money for a heroic Archeum processing machine. They're probably not going to pay the like $15,000 that you spent on it, but someone might buy it from you for $10,000, right? Like, if it can generate profit, someone will buy it. It may take a while. It may take a lot of advertising, but if it costs you $15,000 to make, and it still costs $15,000 for someone to make, but someone is selling it for $10,000, the person's not going to make it themselves. They're going to go and buy the machine from you for $10,000 and save that $5,000, right? Like, and the person that's selling it if they don't want to use it anymore, they don't want to log in every single day and click their Archeon machine and do that work, they'll be happy with, you know, losing $5,000 on that, because they already did it for a year. They did it for a year. They got all their money back, and now they're just like, okay, I'm done. I don't want to log in every single day. Like, it's a very interesting system, and it makes you realize that maybe the heroic and the arcane processing machines aren't as imbalanced as they look from the outskirts, but still the medium houses are just like the best ROI if you put the time into it, right? That's where it gets interesting, is like, how much do you value your actual time in this, you know, this life, doing these activities, clicking the buttons, logging into the game, teleporting around. Like, that's where it gets very, very interesting. It's all about based on, you know, how much money do you have and how much do you value your time. So these are the big reasons I think that the game is suffering right now. The BSLT token price is suffering, but it is very easy to fix these issues. So hopefully their economic people in the Exo Games team and company understand that we need higher labor potion prices. We need higher Archeon prices. They did say that they want to balance the Archeon and labor. They did kind of say they do want these to be higher, but it's very easy to do this. And it's like, just adjust the rates up. Like, make the Hearthstone cost more. So simple. It should not have been 10 labor points for 2 months almost. Like, we should not have had 10 labor point Hearthstone pouches. They should have cost a lot more. And that was I think, the fatal design flaw in this current patch. So we'll see if they take my advice, if they change these things in the future. If the Hearthstone pouches go up to 50 or 100 labor points, you can thank me, guys. I helped save Archeworld. But anyway, I don't think the game is bad. Like, I don't think the game is in a bad state. I think everything is fine. Again, I am one of the people that think the game will be here in 5 years. So I'm on the more of the side that this is a buying opportunity. I want the BSLT price to go down so we can buy more. I want the land prices and everything to go down so we can buy more. And again, I'm thinking more long-term here. So these short-term variations doesn't really affect me. It doesn't affect my mindsets. But yeah, I can see both sides of the fence, right? And we talk about both sides of the fence. It's not all sunshines and rainbows here on the channel. We're not all 100% positive spin. We're not 100% negative spin. We try to be fair and balanced. We try to get both sides of the arguments here. And we try to just give you simply facts. And obviously there's going to be opinions that I have here based on my personal opinions and preferences, but we just try and give you as straight and as clear, and you can make your own decisions on everything. Same thing with doing math and numbers and crunching things out. I highly recommend you just do your own math. I'm not going to do the math for you. You do your own math, you figure it out, and I can help guide a little bit, but everything is on your own. You've got to learn how to fish. I'm not going to do the fishing for you guys. You got to go fish. You got to go put the effort. You got to go put the time, the energy into it. And yeah, you might get rewarded if you learn these systems and learn how to interact with the game world. So I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching. If you've been here all along, much appreciated. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Help support the channel. Help support the game. And I will see you in the next one.